Hello, welcome. Coffee with Carl, number 31. We're climbing up there. It's pretty cool. When we get to 50, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know. I'll do something, right? I guess it's a good milestone for a celebration. But I'm slowly making my way through what we call Morowski May, which is, let's see, my birthday, my daughter's birthday, my son's birthday. Last weekend, we had my daughter's first communion, and Mother's Day, of course, is in there. It's like, it is just an onslaught of events. So unfortunately, I don't have a video on the main channel. I didn't have one last week, and it's amazing. And I kind of wanted to talk about this a little bit because, you know, we touch on mental health around here, and I am not a mental health professional. I mean, shocker, right? Look at me. But I always try to at least help people remember to be mindful of their mental health, right? So and for me, that often comes down to managing my time. I have a friend who has the exact opposite problem, and I don't want to talk too much about him specifically because I'm not sure that he would be very comfortable with me sharing any sort of detail about his life. But more or less, this guy went to the military, and when he came out, he was completely changed, and over time, his condition worsened and worsened and worsened, and now he's on disability and quite literally sleeps 22 hours out of the day. He's like a cat. It's unbelievable. And this is a guy that I knew since grade school, and mental health issues run in his family. He'll never see this, and I know that, again, I'm going to be respectful of his privacy. I don't want to share too much, right? But the poor guy lives in, kind of a housing complex and sleeps all the time. And I feel so bad because, I try to check in on him, once or twice a week, and I'll call him up and see how he's doing. And, somebody like that, all we have to talk about is sort of like the good old days, music that we used to love, movies that we used to watch, because it doesn't get out there much. And so, I call him to reminisce, but I also call him as a secondary reason is just to do a wellness check. Because I feel like this is somebody who knows, he's very aware of his condition. He's very aware of how dire it is, and kind of like that there is no end in sight. He's seen every doctor under the sun. He's been on Schedule 1, he's done everything. He's taken everything. He's really tried everything he possibly could. And especially when you're somebody who is incredibly low energy, trying to figure out what you're going to do next is a really difficult thing. So, I mean, like, you get into that downward spiral, and I have a feeling this guy is somewhere as close to the bottom of that spiral as you can get. So, when I feel like somebody is circling the drain, I'm also frustrated because I'm helpless. And I'm watching this happen to a friend of mine, and I've been watching it for years, and I can't do anything about it. I'll try to get together with him, and we will go out sometimes and do things, because often we'll make plans. He'll sleep through them, and then I'll hear from him a few days later, and I know it's not BS either. Like, he's not somebody who's just sitting home playing PlayStation or something. He doesn't have like a gaming console. His computer is a relic. A lot of times I'll send him a funny email or something, and he'll be like, "Oh, I got to start the computer. I haven't checked my email in a few weeks," or whatever. I mean, like, he literally wakes up, does what you need to do to be a human, eats, right? And then goes back to sleep. And it's like this existence that I don't wish on my worst enemy. And he would tell you the same thing. So occasionally I'll take him and, we'll go cruise in the truck. He loves like classic cars and stuff. But that's usually like once or twice a year. That's how often I can get together with him. I tell you the story about him because he has the opposite problem. And I always try to use him as a point of reference as to, well, I'm glad it's not that. Okay. Because I am overscheduled. Right now, I'm filming this before the kids get up, because we have a whirlwind of a day ahead. They each have a birthday party to go to. My daughter's birthday party is tomorrow, which is also Mother's Day. And on top of that, I'm actually going to pick up a toolbox from my uncle this morning. So, I mean, And then like that doesn't even take into account all the other stuff, right? I mean, like I am just so overscheduled at this stage, which I know will pass and things they'll get to an equilibrium again. But I'm always like, well, you know what, man? It's better to be overscheduled than to have nothing to do. And I have to keep that in mind. And so if you are somebody who is maybe in my position or in the opposite position, as I described before, keep your head about you. Keep looking at that North Star and keep trying to go towards the horizon and whatever your end destination is. For me, it's survival. And I know that sounds ridiculous, right? Because, wow, you got a month that's full of like fun stuff to do. And it's a blast. But I also am somebody who really needs my downtime, my time to come here and film videos, to sit and write a script and figure out what my next video is going to be. That's essential to my like well-being as well. So I always try to kind of keep an eye on that too. And even if that has to be put on the back burner for a month, that's okay, because we'll get back to it. And I don't want to release a video on the main channel that isn't something I'm proud of. The thought had crossed my mind, believe me, of, well, I could whip this video out real quick and get it done, and then at least I'll have something. But I'm at the stage now where it's not about putting up more content. I mean, I have several hundred videos that people can go back and watch if they want to. It's about putting out quality content, and I don't want to rush something. I want to make sure that it's as good as it can be, and sometimes that takes a little bit longer. So anyway, I guess that's my excuse for not having anything on the main channel for right now. Priorities, right? That's how it goes. All right, some interesting things did come out this week, and I'm looking forward to telling you about them. The first one, Filson. Now, Filson, love-hate relationship with them, as a lot of people seem to be noticing. They are increasing their prices while reducing their quality. This tends to happen anytime a private equity firm buys a company, and they tend to maximize profits. They're in business after all, right? That's what they do, and it's like, how do you hate on a company that's looking to make money when that's what a company does, right? I mean, they're not a nonprofit. They're not a charity. They're in it to make money. However, us as the educated consumers, we need to be aware of what they're doing. And so they constantly come out with stuff. And that's probably why I mentioned them a lot. These bigger companies can afford to constantly develop new products and keep pumping them out. And, the cream rises to the top, and then some of them get forgotten. And occasionally, a product will come out which is kind of a flash in the pan, right? Like, it came out, it was great, it didn't get the attention it deserved, and then it went away, but now those old versions are worth a lot because they were great, right? That tends to happen too. And I wonder if it's going to be that same way with Filson's Safari Cloth. Now, there are 3 pieces in their Safari Cloth collection, but I guess the best thing to do is actually talk about what Safari Cloth is first. The Safari Cloth fabric is a mid-weight cotton canvas with an exceptionally tight weave, once used for jackets on safaris for protection against aggressive insects. The material withstands abrasion and is nearly impervious to wind. So as I mentioned, there are 3 parts to this Safari collection: a shirt, a jacket, and a pair of pants. Now, the prices are, like Filson, are about 35 to 50% more than I would want to pay for these. So, for example, this shirt is $135, the jacket is $245, and the pants are $175. In the world of heritage goods, that's not all that high, but we're talking about Filson here, right? These are factory-made goods. They're also likely imported. Yeah, right there. It says manufacturing imported. And sometimes a company will do this because they may source their products from different countries and they don't want to put one specific one. But more often than not, what I've noticed is if it's a place that they're proud of, right? Portugal, the US, Italy, some places like that, which are kind of, or Germany, right? You know, the types of countries which are known for high quality manufacturing. And that's not to say that great stuff can't come from anywhere. It absolutely can. But oftentimes, if that's not something that they're proud of, they're going to use a general term like imported because it's from a country with low labor rates. So all that to say that these things might be good. And I have not tried this fabric for myself. I don't think there's any reason to, really. We're going into the warmer months. Now, I don't like mosquitoes. I don't like abrasion, but I have normal shirts that just tend to do the job perfectly fine. And with a tight weave like this, that leads me to believe that these things also don't breathe very well. So with a loose weave linen, you get this lovely, airy kind of shirt. It almost feels like you're not wearing anything at all. It's great. That's why you'll see the stuff on like tropical places. It usually has a breeze, which keeps the air moving, and it keeps you very comfortable. In a case like this, where you have a tight weave, to me that says less breathability, and I'm not going on a safari, so I don't really see any of these in my future at all. Not to mention, they're also available in only 2 colors, which is kind of weird. So, you know, I've never really liked getting a shirt in that tan color, that khaki color, because you look like a pilot or a member of the military, which is cool, but I'm not. And that's the first thing I thought of. I actually bought like a twill shirt a while ago, a work shirt, and it was that color, and people would say that to me all the time. Like, what are you, a pilot? You know, I'm like, I kind of wish I was. That'd be awesome. But these are basically available in a dark blue, which they call anthracite, and then a safari khaki, which, I mean, again, I don't want to look like I'm going on safari. I live in Connecticut. Now, on the other hand, Chaco Atelier. Look it. I'm going to butcher it, so let's just go into it knowing that, okay? You and I, we have an agreement, okay? I don't know what I'm saying, and you're listening. These are the linen trench trousers, which, all right, I think that maybe the trench trousers is actually kind of like their style, right? Like that's what they call these. That's totally fine, but when I think of linen, I don't really think of like trench warfare. So immediately to me, they just seems like they're at odds a little bit. But either way, these look great. Now they're $198, which is only what, $20 more than those Filson ones. But these are a much more desirable pant, in my opinion. And again, we're getting into the warmer weather, right? So I offered you a couple of different versions, white denim or off-white denim. And then last week we talked about a sky blue, or maybe it wasn't last week, the week before, whatever it was. Well, now we're talking about a linen blend. So this is 10.5-ounce denim, indigo warp, natural weft, 60% cotton, 40% linen, and they look beautiful. So these are dark blue, you know, the dark indigo, which we all love so much. But with that linen component, they must really feel nice. And again, airy, light. 10.5 ounce isn't exactly in the like ultra lightweight category, but it's lighter than most. So they'll still have some structure. And I think that for those of us who maybe just want to stick within the dark blues and they just want to have a lighter version of those for the summer and then a heavier one for the winter, this might be perfect. And that price really isn't all that bad. I mean, $200 jeans has always been as long as I can remember, that's always been the bar, right? You know, people have made fun of people for wearing $200 jeans, and that was in the 90s. And now here we are in 2024, and $200 jeans aren't exactly like out of the ordinary. So I think that these actually look really, really good for a decent price. And it looks like that denim has some nice character to it as well. I'd really be interested to see how linen blend denim fades. Be cool to see. I'm not one for print shirts. I think that they can look good on some people. As a matter of fact, my buddy Jeff Boncristiano, he has a whole channel of his own, and I met him at the beard brand thing that we did in Texas a few years ago. A lot of fun, really cool guy. And actually, he had a shirt that had like bananas printed on it, and that's what he wore the first day. And I'm like, you noticed him right away. So if your intention is to be noticed, let's say that you're going out and you want something to talk about with a girl that you're going to meet or something, right? Well, you can wear something like that, and it immediately gives you a talking point. You know, if nothing else, if a girl is interested in you, they can come up and make a comment about the shirt that you're wearing. And I always appreciated that, you know, like back in the day when I was single and stuff, if there was something that I could strike up a conversation about, then I would. And you won't see typically women wearing stuff like that because they all sort of tend to dress for whatever's flattering. Whereas men, I think, maybe sometimes are a little bit more strategic about wearing things that they want to talk about. So I thought that was a great idea. I remember back in the day, they used to call that peacocking, right? You know, kind of this like bright way of showing yourself and sticking out from the other guys in the crowd. But either way, it could be an interesting tactic. I'm glad I'm married, so I don't have to worry about that crap anymore. But this one here actually looks really good. This is from American Trench. And while I said I don't like prints, I think sometimes they can be pretty good. And I actually really like this one. It's called the Palm Button-Up. It's $175. It comes in 2 colors, Midnight and Natural. The Natural is kind of the one that I was looking at because it has this very nice contrast print, like I said, with this darker print on the lighter material. Looks really, really good. And I think, again, for the summer, something like this will be perfect for those, backyard barbecues and all that stuff. It's 100% cotton. I do kind of wish this maybe had like a linen component to it or something like that. But, it unfortunately doesn't tell you anything about the weight, right? So I don't know if this is 4-ounce cotton or 14-ounce cotton. That's going to make a big difference. But it looks really good. And even the models who are wearing it here make it look like, that's something that I could possibly wear and be happy with. So $175 is a lot of money, but American Trench has proven to be usually pretty good. I don't really care for their socks all that much. I got to tell you, in my opinion, still, and this is not the point of this, Darn Tough Vermont is still the sock that I buy all the time. I've tried. I did a whole video on the most expensive boot socks I possibly could. I got Roto Toe in there. I got a lot of like niche brands and stuff like that. And I kept on going back to my Darn Toughs. Number one, because wool is kind of like a terrible fabric to use by itself because it doesn't tend to hold its shape. So you'll put it on and then you take it off the end of the day. The thing's just like bagging out all over the place. Till you wash it, it tends to go back. But who wants to deal with that? It's a pain in the neck. Whereas my Darn Tough socks I've had for 15 years now, maybe. I think that's when I bought my first one. They're still going strong and they're great. So I did buy a pair from American Trench. That's my whole point. And they didn't last very long. They were threadbare on the bottom, especially the heel and sort of your forefoot, I think they would call it, right behind your toes, got threadbare very quickly. And I ended up just poking through them. And I was like, okay, well, they don't have a lifetime warranty the way Darn Tough does. And I was right then, that was my last pair of American Trench socks that I wanted to buy. Regardless, though, the rest of their stuff usually looks pretty good. And I do appreciate the fact that they'll do a lot of interesting collaborations and stuff like that. So I always kind of keep an eye on them. Now, last year, I think I talked about Terrycloth as one of those materials that can look a little too retro for my taste. Some people really like it. And since then, I've started to see it more and more. And it seems like Terrycloth is used often in when you have like a decidedly vintage flair about your outfit, right? So this one in particular, this is from Revolver, but I think so the company is actually Marine Layer. It's $88, which is steep for a polo, but I like this vintage kind of look to it. So number one, the color is sort of a cream, and it has this interesting stripe pattern, which reminds me a lot of the stuff that we used to wear back in the late 70s, early 80s, and the things that I'll see myself wearing when I was like a little kid and stuff. So it looks really cool, and I actually dig it. I when I first saw it, I was like, you know what? That looks pretty good. And then I realized after the fact that it's Terrycloth. And it's not like you're wearing a towel, because Terrycloth can sometimes be a little bit nappier than other times. This looks like it's a pretty close cropped Terrycloth, so I would love to try this. Unfortunately, it's 70% polyester, which immediately made me go, oh boy, I don't know. And I don't want to so if the other 30% is cotton, I don't want to immediately discount anything that's synthetic. I think synthetics can be good, as long as there's a reason for them. So there are some things that synthetics do which natural fabrics simply cannot. So that's okay, right? Like if you want something that's really color fast, that will not fade or won't fade as easily, especially with washing and UV, you have to go synthetic. And I learned this the hard way when I tried to order 100% cotton work shirts for our crew, which were in a neon yellow, like high vis. They, in a few washes, faded to like a pale yellow, and they were no longer high visibility. And so we had to go with a poly blend, which tended to be a lot more color fast. There are other things that synthetics can do, which natural fabrics are just not as good at. So sometimes that's a good thing. In a case like this, though, where you're looking at casual, comfortable, polyester can be done well. There's certainly levels of polyester. And I think that maybe this price hints at this being a little bit more affordable, but You know, off the bat, if I had to take this off the rack and look at that makeup and all that, I really don't know if I would buy it. It's a cool look. That's why it's on this list and why I wanted to talk about it. I just wish that it was maybe a little bit more of maybe a linen, cotton, 100% cotton, even rayon blend. That'd be really cool. Now, I feel like I always have to mention some sort of a boot or footwear because I love that stuff. So do you, most likely, unless you're watching this video because you like just looking at me, in which case, how you doing? Anyway, Craft & Glory is a relatively new brand, especially on my radar, but they seem to have gotten some traction lately. I think Stridewise just did a video about them, which is cool. These are called the Task shoes, and I don't really care for shoes all that much. If you know me, you know that I tend to wear boots all year round, and I just wear my lighter ones and my not so light ones. The only exceptions are when I'm by the pool or in the gym. And besides that, I'm almost always wearing boots. I find them very comfortable. As a matter of fact, you know what? You want to tell like how you can tell like a real boot guy versus one who just says they are. Is there anybody who just says they are? Is that a point of pride? I don't think so. But I don't even have like I'm not a particular hairy guy. I'm pulling up my pant like you could see it. I'm not a particularly hairy guy. But my leg hair does not grow like below the just above my ankle where my boot normally sits. Like having worn boots for that long, there's a line that my leg hair just simply does not grow beyond. It's funny. And I remember my dad, all right, so quick aside, my dad played guitar. He played bass, he played acoustic guitar, and when I was growing up, I thought that men's chest hair grew like a monkey, right? And what I mean by that is like a bald spot around your navel, which is like kind of like that, like if you bought like a monkey plush or something like that, you usually see like a big bald spot there and, the whole thing. And then it wasn't until later and I started seeing people who had like chest hair going all the way down. And I was like, that's weird. Because my father used to play the guitar so much. He was like in a band and, just was playing constantly. That where the guitar sat, it just didn't grow. And it was the funniest looking thing because he had chest hair and stuff like that, but a big bald section around his belly button. And it was like, I just remember being like, oh, I guess that's not normal, which I thought it was, but that's where the guitar sat. And consequently, hair never grew there. And so same thing here. But I'm talking about the Craft & Glory Task shoes. I'm sorry that I got onto chest hair, but listen, you saw the ride and you bought a ticket anyway, so welcome. What I like about these is that they still take the attitude of a boot with a nice lugged sole, a nice welted construction, but they're lower. So if what you want is something that's a little bit more like a shoe but looks like a boot, I think these are really, really cool. They're also Goodyear welted. But the thing that made me put them on this list today was the price. $190. $190. And these things look like they're really put together very well. Let's look a little bit more at the construction details. So these use a 5-ounce thick waxed full grain buffalo leather upper, a 3-ounce leather lining. They have a 10-ounce full veg tanned midsole and a 7-ounce vegetable tanned welt steel shank, 100% natural cork footbed, rubber commando sole with stacked leather heel. Looks like there's a little bit of memory foam in there, which is okay. And then round laces. I just think these look good, and they look especially good for that price. So I was like, you know what? If you're somebody who's not a boot guy, and I can tell who you are, but you want shoes instead, these aren't half bad, and really at very decent price. So I'm interested to see more. I want to learn more about this company, and I would love to, maybe not particularly these, but I'd like to see more of their products. All right, my weird pick, and this is a doozy. I know I said last week that Capital is the king of weird pick, right? Like, definitely. Whenever I see something from Capital, with very few exceptions, it's like somebody drew it up in a fever dream. And I love that about them. I really do. I love the fact that they're adventurous. We need more of that. That's really good. Second on that list, because I've seen several of their things pop up and included them as weird picks, is this company Needles. First of all, if you're not talking about, I believe, the California town, that's a scary name. Just Needles in general, I don't like it. I don't like needles. So, you have that. But this thing here, whew, okay. This is actually a part of something they call rebuilt by needles, which I think is like a kind of a conservation effort and try to be a little bit more, making something out of scraps, basically, what they're doing here. But the way they did this is interesting. So this is their denim shirt. It's 7 cuts, zipped wide shirt. That's a mouthful. So it says here, Needles designer, and I can't even begin to pronounce that name, rebuilds clothes that were mass-produced in the past and are difficult to use today, bringing them back to life as new clothes. So it sounds like what they're doing is taking stuff like old Gap stuff, right? Like just like big quantity stuff, right? And just totally not in your style today. Like nothing you could wear. It would look like crazy out of date. And he's actually taking these today and then reimagining them in order to use some of that old fabric and make it into something new, which is pretty cool. I gotta applaud the effort. Now, he does this by dismantling a used denim shirt into 7 pieces and reconstructing it as a new shirt. Each panel is connected with zippers, so you can remove the panels to make the width narrower. And also, you can unzip the elbows for short sleeves. So this thing is like super duper modular. I gotta tell you, I really think this is, if it wasn't so crazy looking, it's a brilliant idea. I love the modularity of it. I mean, like the fact that you can size it. You can take sections out to like custom fit and then add sections in is brilliant. And I mean, if it didn't have the zippers all over the place and look a little crazy when you're wearing it, I'd say that's the future of clothing, right? The fact that you could buy something and then like custom fit it and piece it together the way you want. This almost reminds me of when I bought a Pelican case and had the pick and pluck foam on the inside, so you could take out the foam exactly where you wanted to set whatever it is that you wanted in there. This is kind of the same thing. You buy it and then you like fit it to yourself and then you have like a perfect shirt. If it didn't look so insane, I'd think it was brilliant. I still kind of think it's brilliant. Will I be buying one? No, I will not. But hey, you got to give it up for people who are pushing the envelope. So that's this week's Weird Pick. All right. Thank you so much for watching. We're going to sign off now. We're going to keep going for another 10 or 15 minutes for the Patreon. And again, thank you if you have joined up. I can't say thank you enough. We have some interesting stuff coming up. I want to tell you about a project that I have in place and give you some, like, the inside baseball about it, because I'm not really ready to share it with the general public yet. And I'd love to get your feedback. So, to the main YouTube audience, thank you so much for watching. I really, really appreciate it. Have a great week. Take care of yourself. Take care of those around you. And I'll catch up with you next Wednesday.